On a spiritual level, we are never orphaned. The fear of death drove the disciples into a locked room. We too have a fear of death, but remaining in our homes over the last month has not been so much out of fear of our own death, but fear of spreading a deadly virus to others unknowingly. Nonetheless, the coronavirus has brought an acute awareness of death into our consciousness, and for some, it has brought the death of beloved family members and friends. What kind of barrier is death? The gospel proclaims that death and locked doors are no obstacle for the risen Christ. Unbelief also proves to be no hindrance. Death may bring what we understand as physical existence to an end, but Christ is still present. Let us look at our own experience of presence. Physical presence is what we generally pay attention to. The last month has compelled us to find other ways of being present to each other. Electronic presence seems to be the favored mode. Zoom meetings and dinners, online classes, live streaming Mass, YouTube homilies and messages, phone calls, text messages, emails, Facebook, Instagram. All this is trying to extend our physical presence. But there is another kind of presence that we experience: spiritual presence. We often speak of how someone or how some people are spiritually present to us. At least part of what this means is that we sense a deeper reality than body and mind that is crucial in our identity as a person, and that deeper reality reaches across space and time and is present to us. This type of presence is most acutely sensed by people who love each other. When a person dies, we tend to assume that the spiritual presence is no longer accessible. The spirit of the person goes to another world, heaven. Our beloved deceased are with God. In the Gospel of John, this is not what happens to Jesus. Jesus is both with God and with the ones he loves. Jesus' love relationships remain intact after his death. The disciples do not have to go on without him. They do have to go on with him in a new way. Is this true only of Jesus? Or does Jesus' death and resurrection reveal to us a spiritual reality that we all now may participate in? Do all who have given and received love continue to do so after death? Is love really stronger than death? When someone dies, we grieve and generally adjust to their absence. Is this really the wrong thing to do? Is it crazy to think that we should open our hearts to their spiritual presence to us that continues in Christ? We are generally impressed with the power of death to sever the ties of love. We seek signs that the person survived and is now in heaven. In other words, not with us anymore. But they are in peace. They are happy in another way. Is their role now simply to welcome us to heaven when we die? We have all heard stories that would lead us to believe this. Death is a reconnecting with those whom we have loved. This is not the life after death that is revealed in the Gospels. John the Evangelist is not impressed with the power of death to separate. Jesus goes to the Father, but that does not mean he is leaving us. The opposite is the case. Jesus' death brings about a new condition whereby Jesus' love is more clearly known by all his disciples. Jesus promised, "I will not leave you orphaned. I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you." The physical world no longer sees Jesus after death, but the disciples whom he loves can perceive him. In fact, it is only after Jesus dies that the disciples grasp the communion between the Father, Jesus, and themselves. We live in a world focused on physical realities. Physical things are all separate from one another. Things that come together sooner or later break apart from each other. When we love someone, we are often haunted by the thought of being separated from them. Even when we are with each other, we fear being separated. The deeper we love someone, the stronger the sense of togetherness and the stronger the fear of separation. However, we can also be sensitive to our spiritual reality. When we love someone, we somehow dwell in them, and they in us. We can be in one another without displacing the other person. This is the essential spiritual condition described by Jesus. Spiritual togetherness is so strong a force that separation is inconceivable. Even if the physical dies away, the spiritual communion remains, taking center stage. When the physical is present, it monopolizes our awareness. But when it is absent, the emptiness can be experienced not only as loss, but also as possibility. There is a new form of presence. The beloved is not waiting for us beyond death. Even if the doors are locked, they are in our midst. Thomas did not believe until he saw. In the sacraments, we celebrate that Jesus is really present. On a spiritual level, we are never orphaned.